Good afternoon and welcome. Here is a COVID-19 special edition on Channels Television. I'm Millicent Walker. It's a 30-minute daily update at noon, at 6 p.m. and a 45-minute update at 9 p.m. on the coronavirus pandemic in Nigeria and also across the world. First, here are some of the highlights today. COVID-19 cases now 51 as Rivers State witnesses first case in spite of lockdown on land, air and sea borders. Minister of Health acknowledges nation does not have sufficient screening and test kits, calling on international community to help, just as the Nigeria Air Force joins in COVID-19 war, donates ventilator to Bauchi State government. And federal lawmakers propose emergency relief package on COVID-19 in Nigeria as the U.S. government records the largest economic stimulus in American history. It's a Thursday, and latest figures from the National Center for Disease Control, NCDC, shows that the total confirmed cases in the country is now 51, with Rivers State confirming its first case as Lagos and the Federal Capital Territory each records 2 new cases. A breakdown puts the number of confirmed cases in Lagos now at 32, the FCT with 10, Ogun State has 3, while Ekiti, Oyo, Edo, Bauchi, Osun and Rivers State have 1 case each. Information from the National Center for Disease Control says that as at last night, 3 of the latest 5 cases are travelers returning into Nigeria, while 2 are close contacts of a confirmed case. Of the total 51 cases, 48 of them are active, 2 cases have been discharged and 1 death recorded. The nation is seeking international support in areas of test kits and screening equipment to assist in the fight against COVID-19. The Minister of Health, Dr. Osagie Ehanire, today in a statement acknowledges that Nigeria needs help. According to him, our strategy is to strive for the best case scenario and prepare for the worst case scenario. In order to achieve this, we will require technical support, ventilators, general personnel, protective equipment, diagnostic reagents for our laboratories. The minister was speaking while receiving a Chinese delegation who donated gift items to fight COVID-19 at the ministry in Abuja. Let's hear from our correspondent Friday Okerigbe, who has the latest on that story.
Abuja, Nigeria's capital city. In the last few days, the federal government have been receiving some international support from friends of the country. One of such is the donations made by the Chinese government. In fact, just yesterday, the Chinese government donated some items to the federal government which will help the government to effectively manage the spread of COVID-19 in the country. A few minutes ago, the Ministry of Health acknowledged the receipt of these items, and in that statement, the minister thanked the Chinese government for donating those items at the right time. In fact, part of that statement actually acknowledged that they received those items at the time the country is facing difficulties trying to contain the spread of the virus. The statement also notes that the majority of the support that the government will need at this time is technical. They will also need support in terms of supplies of items such as ventilators, personal protective equipment, as well as diagnostic reagents which are used in the laboratories. And these are some of the things that the government is looking forward to receiving from friends of the countries, well-meaning Nigerians and countries that have these in abundance to supply Nigeria with, because they believe that when they have these in abundance, they will be able to manage the spread of the virus. Let me also tell you briefly about the current update about the number of cases that have been confirmed in the country. As we speak, we have 51 cases confirmed already. That was according to the record. That is according to the record by at the website of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control as at 12 midnight, that 51 confirmed cases have been recorded so far. Now, out of the 51 confirmed cases, we have 10 in Abuja alone. That is huge, considering the fact that just 5 days ago, Abuja was recording only 3 confirmed cases. That means within 5 days, Abuja had added 7 to the 3 confirmed cases that it was having just 5 days ago. And this explains why the FCT administration is actually enforcing the stay-at-home policy of the government. If you go around the city as we speak, you will notice near empty streets showing that residents are heeding the advice to stay at home.
Our correspondent there, Friday Okerigbe, from the FCT. We hear that there is a live briefing now coming from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja as well. The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed.
However, we are determined to be more aggressive in enforcing the measures aimed at containing.
We'll come back and connect right back to, indeed, information coming there from the capital of Nigeria. But in Lagos, our correspondent, Nyota Egbe, was monitoring compliance levels as the Lagos State government announced more measures in curbing COVID-19 beginning from today, Thursday, which include all shops and markets to be closed, except for essential service providers, food, water, and also limiting of gathering from 50 to 25. Let's listen to Nyota.
On a normal day, this road will be very busy and boisterous with all manner of people running their businesses here. Those buying and selling will be along here. But today, it's all shut down. The shops are locked, but you find out that there are a lot of vehicles moving around, yet the buyers and the sellers are not available. A few people are standing in front of their shops, but mostly all the shops along this road going towards Ikeja on the bridge, as this place is popularly called, are all locked up.
We are following the government instruction. We are checking all the markets and the shops that have been closed. For example, now this is a computer market village in Ikeja. So we are going around to check all the places where they have been closed.
Okay, what have you found so far?
All the shops are closed. There is good compliance. All the shops are closed. So we are moving from one place to another to check it out.
Now, the Bauchi state government has received a boost in the fight against the coronavirus from the Nigeria Air Force Hospital with a donation of a ventilator to fight COVID-19. The machine has since been transferred to the isolation center. So far, Bauchi has recorded only 1 confirmed case of the virus in the person of the state governor, Mr. Bala Mohammed. Well, let's take you to Niger State, where our correspondent there, Simon Emperor, has the latest on some of the measures of the state government.
Thank you and welcome to Niger State. It's still a case of 0 record of COVID-19 in the state. However, Governor Abubakar Sani Bello has decided to go on self-isolation and to also subject himself and his family to be tested of coronavirus. He has also directed that members of his cabinet as well as his aides subject themselves to self-isolation and to be tested of the virus. What we have seen in the last 24 hours is a case of panic among the people, where people feel if the first citizen of the state would decide to go on self-isolation and to subject himself to be tested because he might have come in contact with persons who have been tested positive of the virus or persons suspected to be carrying the virus. It could also mean that there might be cases of coronavirus in the state. Well, that will be determined by the test by the results of the test of the governor, which we're still awaiting. In terms of the implementation of the curfew order declared by Governor Abubakar Bello earlier on Monday, what we notice is a case of non-compliance to some extent. People have been going about their normal activities. Roads are of course, busy with movements of vehicles and tricycles as well as commercial motorcyclists. Keep your fingers crossed as we give you more updates from Niger State. Emperor Simon.
Our fingers are crossed for an end to the pandemic. Thank you, Simon, there. But joining us for more on Indeed, looking at coronavirus across Nigeria and the world, is a guest in the studio. He is Dr. Ladi Abudu. He's a public health physician. He's also the PRO, Association Medical Officers of Health in Nigeria, the Lagos chapter. Thank you, Doctor, for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're getting a lot of reactions, also a lot of measures that are being taken so far. We heard from the Minister of Health, who said that we need more screening test kits. We need a lot of those equipment. So the JACMA kits that we got yesterday, perhaps not enough. Is this a threat to curbing and fighting COVID-19 as it is in Nigeria?
Yes, it is a threat, but I'm sure we'd have international partners and international friends coming and then provide us with enough kits, yes, in time as well. Yes, it's a world, it's a responsibility of the whole world, yeah. So individuals, countries who have gone through this phase, who have enough left would definitely, I'm sure of that.
But some of these countries are also struggling with some of these kits as well and asking for help, like the US asking South Korea.
Yes. Remember, we had JACMA just give us some. You also know that China is no longer having new cases in Wuhan, Hubei. So I'm thinking that the remnants that they have, they'll probably push it out towards us.
So when you look at how we are containing things, last night we didn't know that it was soared to about 51 cases, or there are about 48 active cases. What comes to your mind as a healthcare provider?
We'd have to remain calm. We'll have to make sure there's no fear, especially in the populace. The truth is, the government is taking good measures into ensuring that this is contained, especially with the social distancing.
But how much are people adhering to that? We're hearing from our correspondents that there's no compliance in several areas.
Let's be true to ourselves. This has not happened. In a generation, it will be difficult for us to comply. Difficult for individuals to just wake up someday and say, "Don't go out of your houses any longer." But as the days go by, we'll see. They'll begin to see the importance, especially when awareness is created. More sensitization is done in the communities to let people know that the best thing to do actually is to just stay at home.
Are you worried that maybe people are not self-isolating enough, especially those who have come back, or maybe contact tracing will be a problem, which is why state governments across are taking extra measures at this point?
Contact tracing is being done. I'm not particularly concerned. I'm not particularly too worried about contact tracing. Contact tracing is being done by individuals who are ascribed to do the contact tracing. The isolation part bit of it is there. We're having issues with individuals who are moving around despite the fact they know that they've been informed that they should, self-isolate. But truth is, there are measures in place to ensure that this kind of things are done. You have the local government authorities, you have rapid response teams who would quickly jump at any case. Say, for instance, in the local government, the incident managers are the chairman themselves, so they're up to the task. They'll ensure that these things are put into place.
So as we're seeing the timeline for the virus in the human body, we're also hearing that some cases will soon be discharged. What does that mean for the person who got the virus in the first place? Explain to us the medical explain to us what that means. Does that mean that the virus is completely gone? Because we also hear that one person might test negative today, tomorrow it might be positive. What exactly?
This virus is novel. It's new. Yes, it is a coronavirus. Yes, it's a coronavirus. However, it's still brand new, and so there's still plenty of investigations going on. There is no immunity. There's no treatment. The best thing to do actually is to, as it is right now, what we'll be doing is we're going to be having double-blind randomized controlled trials, which means that we're going to put it pari passu and then be able to identify, okay, so what exactly is it that this viruses, being controlled by in terms of therapeutics and what have you. But it is known. It is a known fact that it is debilitating, especially in individuals who are compromised by underlying diseases, and then of course the elderly.
All right, we still have the doctor in the studio, but we need to go on a short break. Still to come, we also examine Nigeria's stimulus package, and also from the foreign scene, Tunisia is announcing about 59 new cases of COVID-19. Please join us again. Still our special edition of COVID-19 coverage here in Nigeria and across the world. Let's go to Benue State, where the government has declared the state ready for the containment of any case of COVID-19 with the completion of 2 isolation centers at the Benue State University Teaching Hospital and the Federal Medical Centers fitted with 6 ventilators. Now, Governor Samuel Ortom disclosed this to journalists after visiting the 2 facilities to inspect the state of preparedness with fully equipped intensive care units where the ventilators are functioning, we hear, effectively. At the Benue State University Teaching Hospital, Governor Ortom directed the release of 16 million naira for the expansion of the isolation center, in addition to the 50 million naira approved for rapid response to COVID-19. We have our correspondent in Benue State with some of the details.
The Commissioner for Health, Dr. Sunday Ongbabo, had just confirmed to me that there may be a suspected case of coronavirus in Makurdi. Sample is being taken this morning to send to Abuja for analysis and is expected back by tomorrow. He said that this sample is going to be collected from a female suspect in this coronavirus chase. But to tell you what the citizens are doing, if you look behind me, is a form of social distancing order by one of the new generation banks to guide customers and select them one after the other to go into the bank for safety as they transact their businesses. Yes, the Benue State government has stepped up awareness creation going on in trucks to talk about the danger of coronavirus, speaking in the various dialects in the state, Tiv, Idoma and Igede, as well as English campaign. But more so, the Benue State government, through the technical committee set up on coronavirus, had approved the sum of 50 million naira on Tuesday to begin rapid response and testing across the state. Meanwhile, yesterday when the governor visited one of the isolation centers at the Benue State University Teaching Hospital, he approved additional 16 million naira for the expansion of the isolation center at the Benue State University Teaching Hospital. Again, there are 2 ventilators at that hospital, the teaching hospital. Before we moved to the Federal Medical Center in Api, where 4 ventilators are functioning, have been set up to take care of any eventualities and emergencies at the hospital. There is a 96-bed isolation center also at the Federal Medical Center Api to contain any form of coronavirus outbreak. So within the state, efforts are being made by government, individuals to see how they can prevent any possible outbreak. But until the test result is back tomorrow from Abuja, we truly can't say if there is any case of coronavirus in the state. From Makurdi, the Benue State capital, Pius Angbo.
Many thanks, Pius. Let's come back to our guest. We've been talking to Dr. Ladi Abudu, who is a public health physician, PRO Association, Medical Officers of Health in Nigeria, Lagos State chapter. Let's look at the facts and fictions. There's one on rain and heat. Many people say the heat, drives away the virus. Is that true?
I doubt it. I mean, we have it in the country. I doubt it. That's
Is it airborne?
It is airborne. I mean, it's been announced to be airborne. It says the announcement now is it will stay 8 hours in the air, especially when it is aerolized. Aerolized being that when you have like a draft of air, pushing it forward further than 6 feet. So we can say it's, yeah.
And then how about those we hear that are drinking chloroquine when this is still going through trials?
Drinking chloroquine. Okay, so chloroquine is, like we all know, chloroquine is a drug that was used before the ACTs came in, especially for malaria. You had other things that we used it for. Chloroquine, there's some optimism with chloroquine based on some other countries that have used it. But in order for the health system to use a drug, there's something that's called, there's a procedure that they go through. One would be, as I mentioned before, randomized controlled trials. That's based on placebo, and you have to be double-blinded. This would ensure that, okay, yes, they're really, really sure about the efficacy of the drug. Now, chloroquine itself, what chloroquine does is it allows for something else to interact with the virus. So what interacts with the virus, what stops the virus from replicating in vitro, meaning that in the Petri dish, in the glass, the studies we found that it is zinc that stops the replication of the virus.
But so the thing is, regardless of this, we still need to wait until there is a formal approval.
We must wait.
We'd like to thank you, Dr. Ladi Abudu, for joining us at this time.
Thank you very much. Nice. Thank you for having me.
Right. Now, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, he also donated 50 million naira as relief fund to support the federal government's battle against the coronavirus pandemic in the country. In a statement, the People's Democratic Party's presidential candidate says his contribution will help form part of the stimulus package. He also commended both the federal and state governments for taking precautionary measures towards containing the virus in the country. Nigeria's House of Representatives is proposing a bill for an act to provide tax relief, suspension of import duty on selected medical goods, and deferral of residential mortgage obligations. The measures are also expected to protect jobs, alleviate the financial burden on citizens in response to the economic downturn occasioned by the outbreak of COVID-19. Well, joining us via Skype is Mr. Taiwo Oyedele. He's the head of tax and corporate advisory services at PricewaterhouseCoopers Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us at this time. Tell us, what are your thoughts on this proposition by lawmakers in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the lawmakers have rightly demonstrated the sense of urgency that is required in addressing the pandemic. But unfortunately, the measures in the proposed bill don't go far enough. And in many cases, I even think that they are not addressing the issues. If you take, for example, the one on job protection that says for employers who retain their employees from 1st of March until the end of December 2020, they will get a personal tax relief or income tax relief, which is calculated at 50% of pay as you earn of the employees. Now, if you think about it, for people who earn minimum wage of around 30,000 naira, the PAYE they have to pay is somewhere around 250 naira to 500 naira. So if we give them 50% of that, they are simply saying they get about 300 naira for paying around 30,000 naira in salaries. So I do not see any employer who would, because of 300 naira, keep employees and pay them 30,000. So this doesn't go far. In terms of the import duty waiver, many of the medical equipment are already enjoying 0% import duties. And then if you think about the mortgage relief, now it's limited to people who enjoy loans under the NHF, that's National Housing Fund. Based on a report by the Business Day around September 2019, it suggests that there are only about 45,000 beneficiaries under the scheme. 45,000 beneficiaries compared to over 110 million adults, active adults in Nigeria. It's not even up to 1/10 of 1%. So which means if you take all these measures together, they do not really address the issues we're going to face. And I do not see how that will really bring a palliative for Nigerians.
Drawing board. We'd like to thank you, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, Head Tax and Corporate Advisory Services at PricewaterhouseCoopers. Thank you for your time at this point.
Very much.
Let's look at the global update of the pandemic. Tunisia, it's announced 59 new cases of COVID-19, bringing the country's total number to 173. Health authorities say the latest cases were identified during 229 new tests. Uganda has temporarily banned public transport, and we have the U.S. passing a $2 trillion disaster aid bill was passed by the U.S. Senate, and it's the largest economic stimulus in U.S. history. India has announced $23 billion bailout for its poorest, the giant country's poorest citizens, to help tide them during the COVID-19 outbreak. We also have the UK, the virus latest figures rising to 463. And French debts could be far higher, and this is according to reports that the coronavirus outbreak there are fears that indeed that the numbers there, the death toll could be far higher. Well, those are information coming in from around the world. That's our COVID-19 special edition on Channels Television. Thank you for watching. We're here again at 6 p.m. and also at 9, bringing you the latest on the pandemic in Nigeria and across the world. I'm Millicent Nwaka. Bye for now.